Welcome to Tech Talk with Craig Peterson, show number 690. We are really moving up there, not long. Let's see, 10 more shows, so that'll put us after the first of the year. So that's probably around the beginning of March here. Wow, that's right when we have the U.S. robotics competition. That'll be show number 700. That should be a lot of fun. By the way, we are planning on covering the Granite State Regionals for U.S. robotics this year, again, this coming year, right around the 700th show, so keep an ear out. And if you have kids, you think you might want to get them a little more interested in robotics, electronics, software that goes with it, etc., etc., US First is a good place to go. You can go to usfirst.org online to find out a little bit more. And, of course, before that and even after that, we're going to be talking about the Consumer Electronics Show, all of the latest technology that's coming out over the next 6 to 12 months. So it's a lot of fun. Every week we talk about some of the latest technology that's available out there for consumers, for businesses, small and large, for entrepreneurs, for people who want to get their message out. We help a lot of people. We've had notes from all kinds of small businesses, and I've gone in and helped a few of them solve some problems as a consultant. I've also got notes from a couple of pastors that we've helped out here with some problems, and everybody from young to old. It's great to hear from all of you. I, in fact, met a guy, this was about 2 weeks ago. I went on Craigslist, right? We needed a new dishwasher. Well, not new, but one that worked, at least better than one that we had. So we went on to Craigslist online. We found a dishwasher, looked pretty good, sent a couple of emails back and forth, and agreed on a price and went to pick it up. So we get there, and there in the house there, the bottom floor where the garage is, we pull up, and there's a gentleman there and his wife, and they're both retired. And as soon as I start talking, this is just, to me anyways, this is so weird. As soon as I start talking, he knew who I was. He listens to the radio show every week. So, hello, as I go out to him. Kudos to him for listening and for mentioning it as well. So I thought that was pretty cool, meeting people through Craigslist, some of the listeners out there. But I love to hear from you. I get all kinds of feedback from people, and I enjoy that. We get questions that we answer on the show, and I like it to be interactive. You might have noticed we've been on Twitter tweeting and on Facebook during the show, in fact, answering people's questions and trying to get some information going back and forth. We've had hundreds of people who have, in fact, thousands who have clicked through on articles that we've posted. And that's what we review at the beginning of every show, the most popular articles that we posted during the week on Facebook and on Twitter. And we talk a little bit about them, read them, but you can get them all firsthand. And by clicking on the links that come out to your Facebook page from me or Twitter page from me, you will find you will be voting basically on those articles. You'll find them, of course, as you click through, and we keep track of them. And that's what we talked about. In fact, if you're on YouTube right now watching me kind of go through the monologue as we review some of the articles in the news this week, you'll see some of the counts as I pull them up. Let me pull them up right now here so people can see. This is what I use to send out some of the different articles. So you can see right here, the article we're going to get to first on the Insourcing Boom here. Had 1,800 people potential. We had 7 people click through on that. We had some others, let's see, 19, 29, 30 people click, 57. That's pretty cool. People clicking on it. But we keep track of all of that so we know what people are interested in. We have the huge solar flare article. I think we talked about that one last week, about how it could really just put us back to the 1870s here in the country. Just one of these big solar flares that's going to be coming up pretty soon. So you can see all of this, too, on YouTube if you go to my YouTube site. And the easiest, the best way probably to get to the information is just to go to craigradio.com. I'm going to mention it a couple of times during the show today because people kind of forget what it is. craigradio.com. right there you can go ahead and click on Facebook, on Twitter, if that's what you use, and you'll be able to get my postings, which are, about 3-4 a day of some of the latest technologies I think everybody should know about. And if there's something that's kind of an emergency, like a security problem or something else that's a really big deal, I post it right away, so you'll see that almost immediately. And frankly, before it hits the news cycle, usually you'll find the news is talking about these things I post quickly that are very, very timely. The news talks about them 1 to 3 days later. And I try and keep a little bit ahead on all of that, so that's kind of cool. You're listening to Tech Talk with Craig Peterson, going through some articles in the news this week here in a minute. Then we're going to be getting to the regular interview portion of today's show, and we have about 15 different guests that we'll be talking to today, all about some of the things that you can get for gifts for the holiday season, some of the great Christmas gifts and others. So we'll be getting to those in just a few minutes. First, let's get to these articles. This first one was on the insourcing boom. This is from The Atlantic, written by Charles Fishman. After years of offshore production, General Electric is moving much of its far-flung appliance manufacturing operations back home. It's not alone. An exploration of the startling, sustainable, just getting started return of industry to the United States. The article goes on to talk about how for much of the past 10 years here, GE's been making things over in China. They kind of moved it over there. And it's been a shame here because in 1955, Appliance Park, which they had built, had 16,000 workers. By the 1960s, they had built another building, and they had over 60,000 appliances they were churning out per week. And it kind of kept rising. And as time went on here, now they have started moving things back here. What's happened just 5 years ago, not to mention 10 or 20, the unchallenged logic of the global economy was that you couldn't manufacture much besides a fast food hamburger in the U.S. Now the CEO of America's leading industrial manufacturing company says it's not Appliance Park that's obsolete, it's offshoring that is. So that's pretty cool. I should mention here, I think last week we discussed it kind of briefly, how Apple is moving manufacturing back to the U.S. In fact, the new iMac, which is just gorgeous if you haven't seen this thing, the new iMac is being made in the U.S. At least that's the rumor that's out there. I'm going to pull up a picture of this thing for those people who are watching it, watching the show here on YouTube. But they're moving it back to the U.S., so the question is why? Now, you could argue here that GE is moving stuff back to the U.S. because, bottom line, they not only want some jobs here, but they've been in very, very tight with the Obama administration, and it'll produce union jobs. Well, that's one way to look at it, certainly. But what Apple's looking at is, wait a minute now, China is starting to compete with us. Here we go over there. Apple has trained the Chinese. They've helped them to develop their engineers. They've helped them put everything together. And now China is competing against them. And China has no intellectual property laws to speak of. So they are stealing some of the ideas, some of the designs. And there are some phones I was reading about this week, some really nice ones, that are using, again, U.S. technology over in China. They're going to be selling them in the U.S. markets against U.S. firms using what? Using U.S. technology. It's like the missiles over in China where we gave them the technology. Now they're making them, right? The military systems we've talked about on the show before where China has apparently stolen the plans for our next generation jet fighters and much more and made them, including even a wonderful little aircraft carrier. But this new iMac is just gorgeous. You've probably seen some pictures of it here as I run through on YouTube for the broadcast, but check it out if you haven't already. And they're making it back in the U.S. because they want to make sure they can have control over the whole process. Facebook, oh my, a lot of good things to be said about Facebook and Google and Apple, but all of them are concerning for those of us who really are concerned about all of the databases that are out there, all the information that's being collected on us. Well, Facebook's top engineers trying to read your mind. This is an article written by Ryan Tate and was published in Wired.com, Wired magazine. Great magazine, by the way, if you haven't read it before. Well, it's been a great year for Facebook. Of course, ups and downs when it came to the stock, but Vernal, this guy here who the article has been written about, his name is Mike Vernal. He oversees what's called Facebook's Open Graph. That's the platform, apps, and websites that take all of this data that's collected about you, what you're saying, what your friends are saying, what you like, and pull it all together here and really keep a lot of information on you. Well, Facebook's trying to get to the point where they can predict what you are going to like and will feed it to you. In fact, that's been a big problem with Facebook. Some of the people that are investing a lot of money in basically advertising and promotion on Facebook are very upset because people who follow them, including me, people that follow my page on Facebook, don't get all of the updates because Facebook looks at it and says, well, I don't know if this person would be interested, even though they followed it. So this is going to take a while to straighten out. I don't like the fact that Facebook is keeping all of this information on us and is using it right now to help deliver advertising that's appropriate, which I think is reasonable. They're trying to deliver content that's appropriate, which is somewhat reasonable. I'm not sure really about the ways and methods they're using to do this. Same concerns about Google, same concerns about Apple. You're listening to Tech Talk with Craig Peterson, going through some articles in the news this week here on the show before we get started on the interviews, all about gifts today. A lot of really great gift stuff. Well, this one's from Business Insider. Jay Yarrow wrote it. We've talked before about problems with Apple Maps, and in fact we talked with a local Apple dealer about the problems and what he found and what she found too, a couple of different people. Well, big problems. This week, Australia came out and warned people nationwide not to use Apple's maps. Because if you were trying to go to this one particular city, it would actually take you to the middle of a park in the middle of the desert where daytime temperatures get to 114 degrees. People were getting stranded there because there's no gas, no water, no food. So their cars would stall out and they'd be stuck there. Some people were stuck for over 24 hours and they're worried that people will die because of the problem with Apple's maps. Now, I've used them before. They're not so bad. But really, don't trust them, after this, especially after what Australia has said. Well, Apple fired, this was just a couple of weeks ago, Richard Williamson. He's a manager in charge of Apple Maps. And they didn't have a replacement ready, which means, guess what? They really wanted to get rid of the guy. We had the Apple CEO coming out and saying, sorry. Too bad for Apple here. Big mistake. Washington Post here. This is concerning to me. Maybe it's just because I'm getting older, but I don't know. What do you think here? Pioneering the granny pod. Fairfax County family adapts to high-tech dwelling that could change elder care. So there is a picture of it here. It's basically a drop-in that you can put into your backyard, hook up to your house, and it is a senior dwelling. It has a little kitchenette, it has a bedroom, and a bathroom. That's it. The whole thing basically would fit into a container. It's not very big. Virtual companion stuff here, a video system, the monitors at the ankle level, pressurized ventilation to keep diseases out or in, depending on what it is, a lift, some different types of lighting, including ambient lighting. I don't know what you think about that, but I posted this week, and obviously a lot of people clicked through on it, so we're talking about it today. They clicked through on my Facebook and my Twitter feeds on this article. A little concerning, no question. The last one we're going to talk about this week here really quickly is the social commerce. How good is it? Is it going to help your business? Well, IBM did a bit of a study here, and they looked at sales online, and they compared the different Black Fridays, and they tried to attribute sales to the use of social media by these companies. Well, bottom line, less than 1% is coming from 1% of the sales is coming from social media. Now, what's really interesting is they're saying that Twitter, which, by the way, Twitter is supposedly the #1 source for people to get credible social media information about